Hey, it's Matt Green here, and I'm very excited about our Real Insights Live event today. I've got a great guest. Brett Scarborough is going to be here talking with us a little bit about the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University class. Brett's a partner of ours in one of our Keller Williams franchises and has been really passionate about this subject, has taught it several times. In fact, Brett, you and I were just had a conversation with a friend of ours and business partner, Spring Benson, who said she attended this class a couple of years ago and it was life-changing. So very cool. Brett, welcome to our call. Thanks for our show, I guess, more than a call, our video conference. Welcome, and thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So let's kind of just jump right into this. And this is kind of, I think, more of a mini episode to give people a taste for what this is all about. And of course, you know, Dave Ramsey, very well known and you know, has a great book on personal finance, is really considered, you know, someone that is a personal finance guru, I think. And you know, I've not attended this class, but it's been really intriguing to me. I'm very familiar. I've seen Dave speak a couple of times and very interested in learning more about some of his content. But this is something that you and your partner, Julie, are pretty passionate about. Do you mind saying why?
Yeah, I'll give you a little insight. You know, I'm not a Dave Ramsey lunatic. I mean, he's a love him or like him. A lot of people think he's crazy, but where I'm really passionate about the Dave Ramsey is Julie and I got into the Dave Ramsey program mainly to get real estate leads. A friend of ours in Indianapolis they're an endorsed local provider, and they introduced us to the Dave Ramsey team purely to get real estate leads. And so we better check into this and see what we're, you know, endorsing. What, you know, we needed to learn. They had questions on the thing, like, what do you know about Dave? I'm like, not a whole lot. So we started doing some research, and it's called Financial Peace University. It's a class. And, Julie signed us up for it, and I was like, oh, great, we're signed up for this class. What is it? And went there kind of reluctantly, not really knowing what we were going into. And the principles that we learned were, like Spring was saying, life-changing. Like, they literally changed our financial future big time. And whether you 100% do what Dave says or 10%, everybody that goes through that class that really gets involved with it is going to come out at some level more financially sound. I mean, and maybe they'll say it's been life-changing for them. I don't know, but everybody comes out and has a positive experience with it at some level. So we're really passionate about that. And just a little disclaimer, we don't get paid to do the class. We just kind of do this as a pay it forward because it's helped us, and it's really fun to see how it helps other people change their financial life too. So
that's very cool. I just admire you guys a ton for your approach to this, because I know in talking with you over the last couple of years that it isn't something that you make money at. It's just something that you're passionate about doing because it helps people. And
right.
You know, kudos to you guys. It's super cool. It's one of the reasons why I love being business partners with you guys. And I think it's very admirable. So thank you. And I think it's neat. So tell us, you know, when you say has changed your life, how so? It's just kind of shoring up your financial household, or giving you the principles you need to be successful financially? How's it changed your life?
Well, for us personally, when we first took the class, our oldest kid was 15 and a half, and we were much like most people. Hey, we're going to help you get a car. We had bought a car, and we were going to set him up on payments to us. We had, you know, car debt, house debt, all that, all those things that most people do. Didn't think twice about it. We go to the class, and we're like, that's the worst thing ever. So we ended up buying the car ourselves, this, you know, used car, and told him, look, you got to save up some money to buy your own car. And we just started, I guess, adopting all of Dave's different things that he suggests, and just seeing how that changed our whole financial picture from going to where we thought, oh, you know, we got a few $1,000s in the bank, we should be good, to really viewing that as that's financial disaster waiting to happen. And just working through all of Dave's different principles to get us in a position where we're not relying on anybody else financially. We don't have debt. We don't look at incurring debt both in our personal life and our business life. And it's just as Dave says, you live like nobody else so that you can live like nobody else. meaning right now, I mean, we buckled down for years and years and really pinched. We watched where every dollar went. And that was really, I think the biggest thing was becoming aware of where you're spending your money, because I had no idea I was spending so much money, for example, going out to eat or just at the grocery store. And once you start becoming aware and paying attention to where your dollars are going, then you get to direct them intentionally rather than just letting it happen to you. And I think that's one of the biggest principles that comes out of that class is you get to choose where your money goes rather than your money kind of just going off in the air, you know?
So here's my guilty pleasure. I'm going to be honest with you, Brett. These are a little over $4 a drink, and I sometimes buy 2 of them a day. It's killing me. I've got to change that. So, but I think you're right. I think we end up spending money sometimes and aren't aware of just how quickly we're spending money on frivolous things. All right. So the training is a series of 9 classes. I'd love to just touch on the 9 topics and maybe have you just give a quick little synopsis of what we're going to learn in those classes. So 9 weeks, 9 classes. The first one's, and I'll just run through them real quickly and then we'll back up and go through each one.
Okay.
And let you just touch on. So the first week is super saving. Second week, relating with money. Third week, cash flow planning. Fourth week, dumping debt. Fifth week, buyer beware. The role of insurance. The 7th week is retirement and college planning, which is super interesting. I'm excited to hear about that. Real estate and mortgages, and the great misunderstanding in week 9. So super saving. Give us a quick synopsis.
You know, so Dave's class starts off, it's a big commitment because 9 weeks, it's about an hour and a half a class. So I tell people, you're not coming to 1 week's workshop and it's going to change your life. There's actual work that goes into this. There's homework and things associated with it. But the first week kind of just gets your head wrapped around super saving. Like, where's my money going? And you develop like categories, and he talks a little bit about, well, one of the statistics, and I have notes because I'm not a polished presenter like yourself, but these are just statistics that Dave has compiled from national averages, but 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 76%, like that's pretty crazy. 64% of people don't even have like $1,000, as Dave calls it, emergency fund for, you know, your car breaks or something like that. So that first class really tackles some of the awareness about those types of topics. And then it starts going more into relating with money, I think is week 2, and talking about, because a lot of people use the word budget and they get really nervous. Like, you guys aren't going to, you know, we don't look at anybody's budget. You get to share or not share as much as you want, but it's really, you can buy things, you can spend money, you can do whatever you want. You know, if somebody like yourself, if you know, you want to have 2 naked juices a day, then you build a budget in for that, you know. And Dave talks about a zero-based budget. So every dollar that comes into your income is accounted for. And if some of it's like, hey, a lot of people have, you know, the Starbucks budget or whatever, they can still go to Starbucks, but you know that you're going to go to Starbucks and you know how much you're going to spend when you get there. So,
yeah. So, I mean, really the difference because so often I think in our culture, the concept of a budget has a very negative connotation.
Right.
And in reality, the budget can also mean the fun side of that, which is, you know, planned on and decided monies that you're going to spend on awesome vacations or whatever. Right. It's just really, it's your financial plan. And we've, as a culture, put this negative spin around the word budget.
Exactly. And the first 2 or 3 weeks are really geared around getting people aware of their money. And, you know, Dave says, if you really want to know, look at your checkbook and that'll tell you where you're spending your money. Like, that'll tell you right where it's going. If you went in and started looking at where you spend the money, you'll know what kind of lifestyle you have and what you're doing with it. So,
cool. So week 2 is really about that relationship with the money, changing that mindset around the relationship. And then week 3, cash flow planning. What is that?
So that's when we actually do a budget. We take, there's some exercises where people will bring in their different categories, you know, like groceries, insurance, car payments, credit card, and just planning their cash flow, that zero-based budget to where every dollar is accounted for. And it's really interesting to watch people go through this class because at the beginning they start with, you know, kind of a high overview. And then by the end of the class, they're really dialed in on their budgets, and they change over the 9 weeks. I mean, everybody's budgets they can change or they can adapt them, but it's really starting with a baseline budget and then getting more and more refined on it. So, those are some things there that are really good to get you started on the right foot. So
nice. Then week 4, dumping debt.
I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. He talks about getting rid of debt, and Dave's terminology is called the debt snowball. Basically, you chip away at the smallest one first. So let's say you had 10 credit cards or 5 credit cards. I had one student, I think they had 24 credit cards or something.
Oh, man.
And so you take the smallest one, you pay that off, and then you take the money that you were spending on the next one, and you pay the next one off, and that creates what they call the debt snowball. And you just really work through that and use the debt to get rid of itself, really.
Awesome. And then buyer beware in week 5.
Buyer beware is I think that's one of my favorite classes. It talks a lot about consumer awareness and what you're buying and how places where you can get deals on things that you wouldn't normally think about, or how you get taken advantage of with credit. And just, it's really a good consumer education class.
That's awesome. I remember very distinctly one of the most impactful experiences I had was I was probably 20 years old or so. I was with a gentleman that was a mentor that we stopped in to pick up a jacket that he wanted from Nordstrom's. It's like a $550 sports jacket, something like that. And of course, this was more than 20 years ago, so that was a lot of money, I thought, for a sports jacket. Yeah. And he asked the person at Nordstrom's, he's like, I really like this, but what kind of discount can you give me today if I buy it? And I was like, what? You can't ask for a discount at Nordstrom's, right? Yeah. And they cut like $100 off to let him buy it that day, to have him buy it that day. And of course now, that totally changed my mindset on, what we ask for. If we don't ask for it, we're not going to get it. And so I frequently embarrass my sweet wife, Heidi, by asking for, discounts, or what if I pay for it all now versus over a 2-month period or whatever to get a better deal. And it's shocking how frequent people are willing to, lower what they're willing to take.
It's really amazing, and it's kind of fun at the same time. And when Dave talks about buying things with cash, and that freaks people out a lot because they're so tied to their credit cards. It's amazing if you go shopping, or I was talking to somebody today about this, you go out to lunch and you're paying cash for something, you're not going to order the same thing you do if you're putting a credit card, because you got to factor in the tip. You got to factor in, well, do I want an appetizer? Really? I don't know. What's my budget? And a lot of that buyer beware class talks about just being conscious of where you're spending your money and how much you're actually spending. Go to the grocery store with cash and see how much stuff you end up putting back. It's pretty powerful to do things like that. Really gives you a good awareness of what's important to you and how to save money.
Yeah, very interesting. Cool. Okay, so week 6, the role of insurance.
The role of insurance, it talks really, it's about protecting yourself, because when I first went through that class, I was unaware of a lot of, everybody knows about car insurance and house insurance, but there's other forms of insurance that really help protect you financially should something happen to you. Like disability is a really big one. If I get disabled, what am I going to do? And so there's ways to kind of protect yourself financially with different insurance things that they recommend. And also what types of insurance things you might want to shy away from that don't really protect you very well.
Awesome. I think that's such a one that's very difficult to get our arms wrapped around, because we always get maybe the salesperson in front of us telling us what we need. We don't really know the background. We never really received any education specific to, how to be properly insured. So I think that would be awesome. Okay. Retirement and college planning, week number 7.
Well, a couple of young guys like us aren't thinking about retirement, but maybe college planning for us. No, it's really retirement's always, I'll retire later. I'll deal with that later. You really need to look at it now. And my 15-year-old son's gone through the class. He's completed the Dave Ramsey thing, and I'm so jealous of him because he talks about if you start putting away just a little bit every month right now, he'll have $1 million. And by the time he's like 30 or something, it's ridiculous. And it also talks about planning for your kids' education. So if whether they want to go to college or whatever, you've got that money set aside for them to help them out. And it really takes a lot of the stress off of making decisions on, well, where should they go to college, or can I afford that? You're already taking care. And even if it pays for half of the college, it's better than not planning for it at all. So that's a really good class. I like that one too.
Yeah, I love that. I just went through an exercise with my kids just the other day about this very topic. And it talks about, the exercise really just highlights that the 10 years really that you have between 20 years old and 30 years old are the most impactful for you to have the kind of, retirement income that you want. And it's that very same exercise. The person that started saving at 20 versus 30, how that compounds and shows up, it's millions of dollars difference than the guy that starts at 30. So, and speaking of that, I mean, is this in a class, is this series a class that's appropriate for an 18-year-old kid to come and sit through?
Absolutely. In fact, like I was saying, my 15-year-old, I think he's the youngest one that I've seen go through the class. And it's a game changer for him. He's got an emergency fund. He's saving up he's going to buy his own car. Like, he's not taking a loan out. He'll pay cash for whatever when he's 16, and he's really, money savvy. So he's a tightwad, but in a good way,
That's super cool.
So we've had older people go through the class at any age. I think it's not just geared towards a 20 to 30-year-old age range. There's people from 15 up to 70, 80-year-olds that have been in the class.
Awesome. Okay,
so retirement, they don't know what to do with their money when they're 80, and they come to the class like, oh geez, I wish I would have known. So
very cool. Hadn't thought about that. Okay, great. Well, last two topics, the last 2 weeks. Week number 8 is real estate and mortgages, and then the great misunderstanding. So touch on those two.
So real estate and mortgages, he's going to talk a lot about the different types of real estate mortgage, which, being in real estate, we're familiar with it, but you'd be surprised at how many people make really bad real estate decisions that can put them in a financial situation, especially like with rental properties, or just the type of mortgage that you take out on your home. Are you leveraged to the hilt? Is that a good idea? And he's got some philosophies on that really help give people a good awareness of what a mortgage looks like and how long it's going to take you to pay that off. And is it a good idea at a certain stage in your life? So that's good. And then the great misunderstanding is just kind of a wrap up deal. Talks a lot about how kind of the acceptable financial thing is always to have credit. People are kind of start off in life, well, you need to have a credit card or take out credit. And he talks a little bit about how really he wants to change people's, fiscal responsibility to put more of that in your hands, so you really control what you're doing financially and not just be kind of a victim of it. So
awesome. Brett, thank you so much for taking the time today. This is something that I just love to have conversations about. I'm thrilled that you guys are so passionate about it. I wish more people were inclined to spend the time learning about it. It's something that we don't spend time on in school or get really taught these things. And it's up to us individually to, in many cases, to either work with a mentor or read books and really understand this. And there's just so many people. It's shocking to me how many people really are living paycheck to paycheck or debt or a slave to debt. And you just don't have to be. Just some small changes in mindset and habits can have such a dramatic impact on, our financial well-being. And so I really appreciate you taking the time and share this. What does the class cost? When are you teaching it? And how can people connect with you if they want to connect with you offline?
If you're interested in the class, there's some limited space, but I think we have, a few slots left. So don't be shy. You can just contact me. I can get you the information. The class, like I said, we don't get paid to do it. I think there's a kit that costs, I want to say it's $93 or $103, something like that. It's around $100 for the course materials that you keep. And there's no enrollment fee just other than that. And you can come back to the classes. I've had a lot of repeat people come back through it. And it starts on October 19th. It will run for 9 consecutive weeks after that. And Julie and I try and do these once, maybe twice a year, just kind of depending on the schedule. But if people can't attend or don't, have the means to do that right now, you can always get in touch with me. I'm happy to answer whatever questions. I don't say I'm any type of financial guru, but I can tell you what I've learned the hard way, or different things, or just at least put you in touch with people that do know more about that. And if you're interested in the class, absolutely get in touch with me. I can send you a link to the registration materials, and you can see if that's something that you'd like to get involved with. And we'd love to have as many people attend as we possibly can.
So we'll be sure to provide a link in the show notes so that you can link straight to the registration. And Brett, do you have an email address or website that you want to send people to?
It's the link is I can just text it to them, or we can put it in the show notes and go from there. So
okay,
if that's easier for you, or you can put my email address in there and I can get in touch with them that way too.
Sounds good. We'll do that. You guys, thanks so much for being on the show. That's our quick episode for Real Insights Live today. And just a great topic. So if you're more interested in learning more about Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, can't recommend highly enough to attend the 9-week class with Brett and Juli. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Peace, love, and productivity.